Welcome to another Coffee with Samso, where we talk about projects in the small cap mining sector with CEOs and likes of individuals who've been in the market for a long time. Today I've got Terry Streeter here with me, a well-known identity in our industry. Terry, welcome. Yeah, just maybe give us a quick intro. I know you've got a long history and a very interesting history, so I'm looking forward to hear it.
Well, I arrived here in Australia, I think it was 1965, as a 10-pound migrant, and looking for opportunities here. And when I was in England, I got sick of the weather and sick of being put into a situation where probably just a bit of factory fodder. So I decided to come to Australia, and I originally arrived in Sydney, and then after 3 days, they said you have to find work within 3 days. I found a job with a company called Ormanoid in Sydney that sent me to Canberra, and I laid their vinyl tiles there for about 18 months, and then I went up to Darwin, and I worked for a British company called Dowsett Engineering on Groote Island, working for BHP, mining manganese there on Groote Island in the Gulf of Carpentaria. From there I came back to Sydney. Properties were quite expensive, and I got introduced to a chap by the name of Lou Ziles, and he asked me if I knew much about the stock market. I said no. And he said, well, are you interested? I said, yes, I'm interested in the stock market. And he said, you should invest in a company called Great Boulder Gold Mines. And I said, why is that? You know, and he said, well, they've got a nickel mine in West Australia called Scotia. They got 3% nickel there, and I didn't really know what nickel was at the time, but I watched the stock go from 35 cents to $7 just before the 1969 nickel boom. And I decided to buy some stock, so I went to a broker in Sydney called RF Arthur and Company, and I said I wanted to buy 100 shares in a company called Great Boulder Gold Mines. And they said, you're crazy. It's $7, you know. And I said, it doesn't matter, I want to buy 100 shares, $700 worth of stock, which was quite a bit of money then, you know, at that time. For me, anyway, at that stage of my life. And so they bought the stock, and they went to $21. And they kept ringing me to say, do you want to sell that stock? I said no. And they split the share from a 50-cent par value to a 25-cent par value, and I sold the stock again for $7. So in actual fact, I doubled my money, and I thought, well, this is very interesting, this market, you know. You know, how easy is it to make money? But it's not really that easy. But then I started to follow companies like BHP and Arnott's Biscuits and Consolidated Press and Leighton Holdings, the construction company, and it was all about dividends, and I didn't really like that. So I wanted more adventurous type investments, so I got more involved with the resource sector, and I decided to move to West Australia, and that's when I got more involved with the mining companies like Swan Resources and Resolute Mining, and quite a few others during the 80s boom. Then I decided to get involved more after the 87 crash, to get involved with more of the company, get in a more of a solid control of a company. And I was offered 20% of, actually 14% originally, of Jubilee Gold Mines, which wasn't a nickel company, but they had tenements in the Kathleen Valley there, which were prospective for gold. There was some gold indications there, and but after a while, there was indications of nickel there from tenements to the north, Yakabindi, and we decided that maybe there might be some interest in nickel there to the south, and we discovered some anomalies there towards the south of the Kathleen Valley. We drilled those anomalies, and that was the Cosmos nickel mine. So that started the boom there with Jubilee, which I was 10 years or 11 years with Kerry Amanis there at Jubilee, which was quite an interesting time with Kerry. Great chap, love him a lot, and we had some fun there. But
I can sense another story there.
There was plenty of other stories there, but I then was approached by some investors to get involved with a company called Australian Nickel Mine. I think they were Nickel Mine or Nickel Investors or whatever they were called, and they wanted to list on the stock exchange, so we listed. I invested money there for them to get listed, and they listed the company Western Areas, which had tenements in the south of Western Australia, here Plumridge and Kundalini and Mount Jewel and Mount Alexander. We had those tenements, but the main game for Western Areas was the project in Forrestania, which was available at the time through Outokumpu, the Finnish company, and we managed to secure that. And then the discoveries through Forrestania established Western Areas into the nickel success that it is today. Since then, I've retired out of Western Areas as chairman after being there. I think I was with Jubilee 11 years, and I think I was with Western Areas about 11 years too. I decided to leave that to the boys now. They can stand on their own feet and pursue other opportunities in Brazil, iron, titanium, vanadium in Brazil in my own private company, Riverbank, and invest in other nickel exploration companies in Australia. Now, one of those came to mind, which was Moho, and they had tenements there that were interesting to me north of the Silver Swan Poseidon development there. So that was my interest in investing in Moho Resources, and I think they've got potential there, not only in their nickel potential, but also in their gold potential there at East Samson Dam, and their Empress Springs and Burracopin tenements out in the wheat belt there. The Empress Springs project is in North Queensland there, south of Croydon, and that's got a potential there to be quite substantial in the way of some sort of base metals gold discovery. So basically, in short, that's it. There's a lot of other stories that I could go through there. In my life over the some odd 30 or 40 years I've been here, more than that now. I'm not going to reveal my age, but a lot of people know what it is anyway. Most probably the taxation department.
I mean, you've gone through the nickel boom, you've gone through the '87 rush, and obviously the fall, and obviously I've seen all this. In my opinion, I think that what we're going through now is probably the best since probably the '80s, prior to '87. Would you comment on that? Do you think, how true do you think, or you've seen others?
No, I think we're coming into another phase of a boom, you know, and especially a minerals boom, because, you know, the economies around the world are in disarray now. You know, governments are in disarray, I think. You know, people, you know, demonstrating worldwide, whether it be in the Middle East, or it used to be mainly in the Middle East. Now you've got Europeans, and you know, in the Americas, they all seem to be demonstrating about their lot. You know, people are not happy. They're not happy the way the governments are running their countries, and the economies are not in good shape. And it's a time now where people can take the opportunities that are available to them. If they see those opportunities, they should take them with both hands, because, you know, minerals, it used to be, you know, the country's economies used to be based on the amount of gold that was held in Fort Knox, or the Bank of England, or in the German economies, or in the Russian economies, or whatever. Then or in the Australian economies for that matter, years ago. And then they decided, oh, you know, there's not an awful lot of value in gold. We'll base our economies, our value of our currency on our economies. And the economies have fallen
to bits,
you know, drastically in decline. So minerals now are more valuable than the currency in your back pocket. That bit of paper you've got in your pocket is not really worth much at all. Yeah, really, to the state of the economies that you sit in. So people are reverting now to tangible assets like land, or copper, or gold, or any other material that's got some real value.
Yeah, I find that even now, I mean, especially, I mean, you're in the market a lot, and even those postage stamps kind of stories seems to be running. You know, I tell people maybe this is the time where, you know, the old story, if you hear your taxi driver tell you what stocks to buy, it's time to go. But I don't think we're there. I think it's more like now it's times where you need to look at these assets, or these companies with certain assets that mean something, as opposed to a postage stamp. And you should be putting your risks there as opposed to those kind of things. Do you agree with that comment?
Well, of course, because a lot of people don't understand the resource sector a lot, but there's a lot of money to be made there. So you look at the companies that are run well. You know, there's a lot of companies that are poorly run, unfortunately, because they take advantage of the situation in the market. You know, but the companies that are run well with good geologists, good management, good financial people, they're the company, and the companies with good assets that have got some real value. You know, whether it be gold or nickel or copper or whatever it might be. You know, and take a real interest in that. The trouble with people is they're so fickle with their way. Oh, we want the money today. We don't want it tomorrow. We want it today. We want that investment to improve today. In this industry, you can't. You can't think like that. It's a long-term process. You have to follow it and be patient and consistent with what you know, don't jump from graphite to lithium to something else. And a lot of these companies do, and they make a big mistake. If your focus is on nickel, you should focus on nickel and sulphide nickel, not laterite. And if you focus on gold, you focus on gold. That's or a company's. If you're not sure, you focus on a company that's got, say, companies like the majors that have got oil, gas, nickel, copper, aluminium. You know, they're involved in every, iron ore. You know, so you cover the whole gambit of materials. If you don't understand it, then follow a company that's got the whole lot, sort of thing, that's involved, and it's probably better that they're in production rather than they're a small exploration company. I wouldn't invest in a small exploration company so much if you don't know an awful lot about it, because, you know, it's quite risky.
I think one of the things a lot of people, I mean, I sort of listed a company, you know, 10 years ago, and when you're talking to investors, like what you said, you know, they want something today, you know, when are you going to have your fruits? As opposed when, I'm sure when you've invested in your past success, people forget that you sat there for many years where it didn't look like much, but it's the belief and the understanding of the projects and the management that creates your confidence. I think a lot of people miss that. They go, oh, this guy's made a lot of money here, and it was like one of those 20 years overnight success kind of scenario.
No, it doesn't
you know,
happen like that.
Yeah.
And I never think like that, and you should never think about the money side of it, because it will always come behind you. You always think of the opportunity in front of you. The opportunity is in front of you. You pursue that opportunity. Don't think about what the balance is going to be, what you think the balance is going to be, because it probably will never get there. It will come, and all of a sudden you look behind you and say, wow, I didn't realise I had all that. That's all accumulated from my effort going forward. I think that's what people miss today. It's the effort that you put into something that gives you the monetary success behind you that doesn't really mean anything much. People say, oh, that's rubbish. It does. Yeah, it does, but but they think of that too far in advance. What is it going to gain for me? What is it going to give to me? No, put the effort in and it'll give you anyway. It will come.
I think that's very important, because I mean, I obviously in what I do, I get a lot of questions of people sort of getting in touch with me and saying, oh, I just started investing January, and they have a lot of people who actually don't understand that drilling, you need to drill holes in the ground, and it doesn't happen just because that first phase of results is going to tell you whether this is a, you know, Cosmos or Forestania kind of stuff. But it's maybe the 5th or the 6th drilling program that gets you that. Not everything's a sand fire where the 6th hole gave the big. You know, not everything's like that. You know, in fact, that's more rare, in my opinion, than the rest.
Well, you've got to be very fortunate. I mean, yeah, some geologists are very, very good, and some geologists are probably not so good at distinguishing the state of the geology. Over my years of experience, it is the drilling that will tell you the answer to what you think's down there. I mean, you can look at geophysics, and you can look at anomalies, and you can do mapping, and you can do ground sediments, sampling. You can do all sorts of things, but until you put that drill hole in the ground, you're not going to find out what's there. And a lot of people think that they're going to get response from the market by putting out information on, they've got ground next to something, or they've got a particular anomaly that probably doesn't mean anything, until you put that drill hole in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more inclined. I mean, I'm been an exploration geologist, never been fortunate enough to work in a mine, or maybe I've been fortunate never to work in a mine. But I find that, when I look at companies like Moho and the likes of Moho, where they've got certain projects where I think you sort of mentioned sometimes people where they're comfortable, they don't look at the outliers. They think, oh, that will never happen, but, a bit like in the wheat belt. Oh, nothing happens there, but then, you got Tampere and the rest is sort of history. I like those kind of concepts where the Burracopin one that they've got there.
You never discount anything in this. I mean, you hear so many stories. I mean, when we moved into Forestania, and Julie and Hannah, and we looked at it, and I asked him what he thought of it. He said, geez, there's a lot of potential here, Terry, But other people are saying, oh, it was mined out, it was drilled out, you're wasting your time. But it turned out to be one of the better nickel discoveries in West Australia. And you hear that a lot about a lot of companies, they say, oh, we discarded this because everybody's had a look at it. And it's been mined for a certain amount of years. But somebody has another set of eyes to look at it in a different way and say, well, maybe there's something else here, you know, that's been overlooked. No. Put a drill hole. Oh, wow, didn't expect that. And that's the thing that's what I like about this business, is there's an excitement there that you never know is going to turn up for you. And if, like I said before, and I'll repeat myself, if you're consistent and persistent and patient, you've got to be patient too. You can't sort of say, oh, well, forget it, he didn't do that, well, we're going to something else, you know.
Yeah, I know, I love the, they had a bad drilling program, results are crap, so that means the project's gone, you know, but...
No.
Yeah.
No, you never discount anything, anywhere, because there's always somebody else can have another look at it and say, well, I think they might have missed this here somewhere.
Yeah. I think that's the thing where people forget. Negative doesn't mean that is bad. Negative could be a false positive in the sense that, well, maybe we didn't do it the right way the first time. Maybe that tells us now that that's not how we should do it. We should do it this way. And how many stories have we had? I'm sure you've heard many stories as you just described. How many times have you walked in a project where you said, you know, 10 people have done it, or I think there's a saying, right? It's the seventh person that finds the deposit. Is that the old saying?
Something like that. Well, that's right. You know, it is so interesting, this business, and if you follow it and you know, you get involved with it, I think, you know, you get a lot of satisfaction out of it. Not only monetary satisfaction, but, you know, personal satisfaction in getting companies off the ground and getting them to stand on their feet and look at it and say, oh, another one. And people, you know, if you can get the result for the investor too, and I always remember Kerry Packer saying, you know, pull Consolidated Press off the market because he was sick of shareholders, you know. But if you can get the right result for them, you know, I have people that I employed who are saying, you know, we paid off our mortgage with what we made out of what your company's success. I mean, they're good stories. Not for me, for other people to get the benefit out of it. I mean, if you can make money out of the market and pay your house mortgage off or whatever, you know, go on your holidays or do or get some benefit out of it, that's good news for me. If I've made something better for you, well, that's probably better than what I made for myself, because I don't need much in my life. 3 meals a day and I'm happy, and a few drinks.
Well, from a nickel man, what's your view on precious metals, as Rick Rule called them, rather than gold, right? What's your view going forward? Do you see fluctuation? Do you see it coming back? Do you see it going?
There's always going to be fluctuations in the market, you know. You get those peaks and troughs and everything. And unfortunately, I suppose there's a lot of miners out there, a lot of companies that have mined projects, you know, gold prices at you know, $200 or $300 an ounce, you know, when, you know, they're $1,900 US an ounce now, you know. So, yeah, they probably think, oh, we wish we could have mined that at this price. It's the same when we started Forestania. I mean, you know, we just missed that nickel boom where, you know, nickel price was $50 a tonne or whatever it was, you know. So, you know, you get those peaks and troughs. But unfortunately, if you can get your discovery at the right cycle, then of course, that's why they all clamber into these graphites and lithiums, you know, or cobalt, you know. Oh, this price has gone sky high, we're going to explore for that, you know. We might have a discovery here, so the stock price goes up a few cents or whatever, you know, on the strength of them targeting a particular commodity that's flavour of the month, so to speak. But, you know, you've just got to ride. That's what I said before. If you're consistent with what you want to follow, you will get those peaks and troughs. But, you know, in the long run, you benefit.
I think in the end, it's about the margin that you make. How great is your project? I mean, Western areas during the really dark time of nickel of recently, I think Western areas was still the only one that was still mining. Whereas everybody was shutting the
Yeah,
shutters.
well, they had
you
to
know,
because the grades were so low.
Yeah.
It was uneconomical. And it's the same with small companies. You know, you go to raise money, and what are you raising money for? Whether it be gold or the nickel price is not in your favour at the moment, or the market's not. You know, they're more interested in something else. You know, medical or and I think that's a good thing. Really, I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but this COVID-19, whatever they call it, the coronavirus, has caused a major problem. But it's probably done the best thing for the resource sector, because all that money that went into tourism and airlines and banks, they're not in favour now, has gone into the resource sector because it's got value now. Whereas that value that was in these other companies, because they were booming along in the economies, has stopped. You know, the airlines have stopped, tourism has stopped in a certain way, and banks are out of favour because they got people there, they got problems. So people have moved their funds out into somewhere where they can see there's some value.
I mean, I've said in 2015, I said I've never seen the market so low where every commodity was low, every commodity was hit. And now I've never seen a market now in mineral industry where everyone is getting the benefit from the top tier to the bottom guy, whereas before it was always the top guys and everyone said the bottom guy, it's going to filter down, but it sort of never gets there.
No.
But this is the first time where I've seen everyone sort of flourishing, you know.
Well, there's a lot more money coming back into exploration, which I'm happy with. You know, a lot more people are supporting exploration, which they should do, because whether it be governments or federal governments or state governments or local governments should be supporting that for the economy, because it does attribute a lot of funds and a lot of work, and and it contributes to everybody in the end. You know, whether it be the local butcher, the baker, the electrician, the plumber, the steel fabricator, you name it. You know, they all benefit if you can get one of these projects off the ground. Everybody benefits from it.
All right, Terry.
So the assistance by everybody should help it.
Yeah. All right, Terry. Thanks for your time. I mean, fantastic. We could go on forever, as you warned me that you could go on forever. Look, I really appreciate you giving time.
No, that's no problem.
Love to have chapter 2 sometime.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got many stories to tell, and I love the fact that it's about persistence in this market. It's not about overnight success. It's about just because someone's had a bad drilling program doesn't mean.
No, don't worry about that.
But look, thank you.
No, thank you very much indeed.
And I hope we can sort of have another chat down the road.
Yeah, beautiful day.
All
Beautiful coffee. Thank you very much.
right. Okay.
And thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
You're welcome.